Hello YouTube, welcome back to the Basement Card Collector. Today's video is going to be a video response for the channel Dustin and Blake. Dustin and Blake is a father-son channel. They are Minnesota Twins fans. Dustin is a super collector of Kirby Puckett. He is currently sitting at 997 subs, so that's almost the big 4 digits. So I will leave a link to his channel. Go watch and subscribe. We'll get him to that 1,000 subscriber mark. The VR is asking for us to show the top 10 players, our favorite 10 players from our favorite team. And so what I have here today is I have my top 10 Chicago Cubs. And joining us on this episode in front of us here is Mr. Andre Dawson. The really cool card of Pat Hughes. He is the Cubs radio announcer. Great at watching a game through the radio and listening to Pat Hughes. He's the man. Next to him is our rookie card, Mr. Ryan Sandberg, and a Sporting News All-Star card of Don Kissinger, all signed through the mail, all 4. Here goes my list of the top 10 players in my collection, and I'm not sure if it's a top 10 player or my favorite player ranking. It's a little bit of both, and so I do have a ranking system and I do have a top 10, but I'd like to run through a couple cards that just missed out on some pretty cool names in Chicago Cubs history. How about the 3 guys, Tinkers, Evers, and Chance? There is a well-known story, and that's a double play combo, and they all went into the Hall of Fame at the same time. They were on the teams that won the 07 and 08 World Series, and they were also all 3 inducted in the same Hall of Fame class, which is pretty amazing. Joe Tinkers, Johnny Evers, and Frank Chance. These are going to be on my honorable mention list from the olden days. And we also have one more very famous player who is an all-time player, all-time Hall of Fame player. He has the most RBIs in one season, Mr. Hack Wilson. He has 191 RBIs, and he did that while wearing the Chicago Cubs uniforms. We're going to put him with those 3 previous Hall of Famers, Mr. Hack Wilson. And just missing my top 10 are 3 Hall of Famers and 1 number 1 overall pick. Growing up, I loved watching him, Mr. Sean Dunston. And if you watch WGN in the early 90s, you got to watch him throw it to first base, and it was near 90 miles an hour or above. Now, it wasn't always the most accurate if you're familiar with Schwann-Meter's work, but I loved this card when I was a kid. I was super pumped to get it. I didn't have it when I was younger, but I did pick it up later. Just missing my top 10, Mr. Sean Dunston. But I do love that card. And my last 3 players outside of the top 10 are all 3 in the Hall of Fame. 3 excellent Cubs pitchers. Just missing out. Look at this trio of guys here. Mr. Lee Smith, Goose Gossage, and Dennis Eckersley. And I love the wood grain on that 1987. He was a beast. He retired as the Major League's all-time save leader when he was finished. Goose Gossage is in the 300 saves. And then we have Dennis Eckersley, of course, was the Cy Young Award and an MVP. But again, these 3 players just missed out on my top 10. Let's see, let's just put these guys together here. We'll show the old Eck. All right, here we go. Going from my top 10 up to my favorite player in Chicago Cubs history. Coming in with a tie at 10th place. I went back and forth and I couldn't decide who I liked better. And I don't know how to solve that problem, so I thought the votes came in and it was a tie. 10th place, all-time best Cubs, and they kind of go together. Mr. Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant. Here on the Gold Cup card, and here on the National Baseball Card Day card, Mr. Chris Bryant. Came up together, ran through a couple years of great seasons in a row, and we're going to call them the 10th best / favorite Cubs in my ranking system. So we're going to do a little bit of, let's see if we can make this fit here. Number 9 coming in, and he was my favorite player growing up, and this card was a super hot card back in the day, and you couldn't find this, and if you did, you thought you hit the lottery. Mr. Mark Grace in 9th place on my favorite / best Cubs of all time. That 88 rated rookie is just an iconic card for me. I have several copies now, but as a kid, I was super excited to pull this card. And then speaking of Grace, little double combo here. This is the Topps Traded, and I didn't get this until I was just a couple summers ago actually. So his rookie card, it's very nice and crisp and clean on the 88 Traded. But in 9th place, Mr. Mark Grace on the 88 Donruss. Moving into the 8th spot on my list, an all-timer, a Hall of Famer, third baseman, and I just picked this card up recently, Mr. Ron Santo, in a little jersey swatch. Just picked this up actually in Florida over spring break. I was just excited to have a jersey piece of the Hall of Famer coming in 8th place for me, Mr. Ron Santo. In 7th place, and I picked this card. This isn't the most attractive card, but that's kind of why we're having this little VR. Mr. Fergie Jenkins in 7th place. And this is the 73 Topps. You can see the corners starting to come off, but this is I love that jersey. Look at the collar popping out of there. The hair looks good. There's a very young stadium in the background, if you recognize that. Mr. Fergie Jenkins in 7th place. Coming in 6th, I would be crazy not to put him in. Watched his whole career, hit 60 home runs in a season a few times, Mr. Sammy Sosa. And this is an all-star jersey swatch. You can see the man was just an iconic player, and if you watch that home run race with him and McGuire, it just was amazing to watch. And we have him right in front of Mr. Fergie Jenkins. And the top coming in 5th place. This is a favorite one of my 1965 Topps, one of my favorite cards, Mr. Billy Williams, Hall of Famer, Rookie of the Year. And that jersey, that just is an awesome looking card. Love that banner. I don't have many 65 Topps, and just to have one of Billy Williams, I think, is a real treasure for my collection. Love this. I wish I had more. I mean, who doesn't? But Billy Williams coming in 3rd place, and really he is my favorite player, and I kind of jumped him back and forth from 1, 2, 3, and 4. Mr. Andre Dawson. This is from an in-person signing actually, but I chose the 93 Select, just a card you don't see much, but the photo, you can see the ball in his glove, gold glove, rocket for an arm, Hall of Fame player, Mr. Andre Dawson. And my channel is basically built around the 89 Topps, which is my favorite card of all time. Love the logo, love the banner. Just got a great, this is just my favorite card. But for today's video, I thought I would show a separate one, which is also an awesome looking card, Mr. Andre Dawson. And coming in again in the 3rd place of my favorite Cubs ever is Mr. Ryne Sandberg. And again, this is one of my favorites, but I've shown this and people show this often, and I can't blame them. But for this card, for this video, this is one of my favorite sets. It's from the Score. It's called Score Masters in 1990. I just remember seeing this card as a kid and thinking that card needs to be autographed. Love the painting, love the portrait. I just love how there's no stats, there are no words, no letters, just a really cool photo of Mr. Ryne Sandberg. Coming in second place, and this is by far my favorite card of this player, an all-time great, a Hall of Famer, Cy Young's. It just stinks that we got rid of him so soon. He did win one award with our Cubbies, but this Maddox card, I went through my Maddox collection and just couldn't find a better. Love the color, love that rated rookie logo, and I love that mustache. It's just an all-time favorite card of mine from a superstar pitcher who played just not enough of his career with the Cubs, not enough of his prime career with the Cubs. So Mr. Greg Maddux is my number two player for the Chicago Cubs. And number one, and I grew into this because my favorite player that I watched was Andre Dawson, but I could not go against Mr. Ernie Banks. This is my earliest copy of an Ernie Banks Playing Days card, and it's just hard to not have him at number one on any kind of list. So my favorite player is Andre Dawson, but I just cannot go against Ernie Banks. And so what we have here is the white back version of the 56 Topps. I just am super glad to have this in my collection, and he is the number one Cubs player by importance, by stats, by just any way you slice it. Ernie Banks just needs to be number one. So there you have it. That is going to be the end of my video response for Dustin and Blake. And again, it's your favorite team, it's your favorite players, and he is having a video response. No prizes being awarded, just for fun. And so I definitely want to get on and try to give him a little push. Maybe we can get him over the 1,000 subs. So go give him a look. I'll leave a link to his channel below. And this will conclude our video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.